Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, my name is Heather Lewis and today we are going to be working on this bench. There is no hardware that needs to be removed from this piece, so we can get straight into cleaning. For cleaning, my go-to is Dawn dish soap. I really like this because most people have it in their homes and there's no harsh chemicals, so it's really easy to use. Plus it's meant to get grease and dirt and grime off of things, so that's exactly what we're doing. I like to use microfiber towels when I'm cleaning because it really catches a lot of the dirt and dust, especially some of these older pieces that have been sitting around will have a lot of dust under them or even on the surface. Once this piece has been cleaned and rinsed off with regular water, I'll let it dry and then I go in and scuff sand it. For this project, I am using 120 grit. There's really nothing that needs to be smoothed out. I'm just scuff sanding it so that paint can adhere to the piece. Anytime your objective is to only scuff sand, I would recommend using 120 grit or higher. The higher the grit, the less gritty the grit is going to be, so I'd always go higher for scuff sanding. So now that we've finished all of the prep work, it is finally time to paint. And we are going to be using Farmhouse paint today, and that is why we are not priming. Farmhouse paint is an all-in-one paint, so you don't have to worry about priming, and you also don't have to worry about top coating. But we are going to be using this really blue color called Paradise, and I'm super excited to try it out because it's a little more bold than I would typically do. So let's just get painting so we can see what this actually looks like. This Paradise color is a gorgeous blue color. It's a lot like a sky blue or a baby blue, and that's actually my favorite color, so I was really excited to paint with this. If you know anything about me, it's probably that I love to stick to neutrals. I know that's what sells best. I know that's what attracts a lot of the eyes, but sometimes I just really want to try something bold and step outside of my comfort zone, and I feel like I'm doing that a lot more recently, and I'm really loving it. If you're still watching, thank you for being here. I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button and you go down below and subscribe if you aren't already. It really does help small channels like mine grow. We just hit 2,000 subscribers and I'm so excited about that, but I know there's a lot more growth to be done. So if you like this type of content, go ahead and click that like button and subscribe down below. Farmhouse Paint is a great company and I love working with their products. You can use their paint on just about anything like cabinets, furniture, laminate, glass, ceramic, even drywall and metal or aluminum, and then wood obviously because we're painting on that, but also fabric, leather, and concrete, and it's really durable and it'll last for a long time. So if you'd like to try out Farmhouse Paint, you can use my code Heather10 to save 10% off all their products on their website, so go ahead and check that out. I will also leave the information in my description box down below. In order to reach full coverage on this bench, I did need to do 2 coats. Now typically I will always say you have to do 2 coats, that is the absolute minimum, just because I want to make sure that I have full coverage all around. Now I did only need 2 coats, and going from this wood color to this light blue, I think that is very good. And because Farmhouse Paint products are an all-in-one paint, I already didn't need a prime, but I'm also not going to need to top coat either. Because I'm not having to do those steps, it makes your furniture flips have a very fast turnaround. I mean, adding in other layers like the primer and the top coat does take time because you're also having the dry time, and with Farmhouse Paint you're just cutting all of that out and it makes it super fast and super easy. After the paint was dry, I decided to add in another fun and cute touch, so we're gonna get into that now that the paint is all on. So now that this bench is painted in this beautiful blue, I'm gonna be adding some details to it, which is stenciling. I'm gonna stencil around some of the borders because I think it'll just add a really fun touch. But I'm not doing just a regular stencil. I'm gonna be using Farmhouse Paint's Crystal Fusion. Now the Crystal Fusion is going to give off a dramatic textured and reflective effect, which is exactly what I'm going for. I'm also going to be adding in some of their liquid gold into the Crystal Fusion so that it gives off a little bit of the gold color as well. So let's get into it. To do this, you're going to want to make sure you have some type of tape, whether it's painter's tape or frog tape. Here I'm using painter's tape, and I'm just going to tape the very edge of the stencil and tape that onto the bench. You want to make sure that you're not actually taping the stencil part because you want to have full access to that. You'll notice that I'm also going to be taping the bottom of the stencil as well because I want it to be tight in there and I don't want it to be able to move around, otherwise it could really screw up your stencil and not have clean lines. So once it's on there correctly, it should look like this, making sure that it's not taped over the actual stencil. Once my stencil was ready, I took a putty knife and a decent amount of the Crystal Fusion and put it into a container that I wasn't worried about getting dirty or having, DIY projects in. And then I took my liquid gold and really just took the tiniest amount of it so that it would only tint the Crystal Fusion and put that in the same container that I just put the Crystal Fusion in and just started mixing it. When doing this, I made sure to mix it up really well because I do want the color to be, consistent throughout. I don't want little parts to only have white and little parts to only be kind of gold. So just make sure you mix it consistently so that it's thorough throughout the whole stencil. Once it was mixed up, I simply just started applying it to the stencil. Now, my putty knife was probably a little bit too big for this project. I would recommend getting a smaller putty knife if you're going to be doing something like this. Also, make sure that you are applying it gently and evenly. You want to make sure that it's even throughout so that it looks consistent. It is going to be a little bit bumpy, and that's just the Crystal Fusion, so there's no need to worry about it. Once it was all on, I made sure to pull it up while it was still wet. I just took the top piece first and tried to pull it off in one piece very smoothly so I didn't ruin the stencil, especially since it is more of a raised stencil. And once it's finally all the way pulled up, you can see that it's looking great. There's a little spot where the tape kind of ripped up a tiny bit of the paint. That's why I recommend frog tape more. But other than that, it's looking good. So we're starting on the second half. You're going to want to repeat this process as many times as you need to get the desired look that you are looking for. I do recommend going and washing off your stencil between each time that you use it though, because otherwise it makes it really hard to keep your stencil clean when taping it on the piece. I've just noticed that after using stencils several times, it's just the easiest to go clean it off so you're working with a clean stencil. So again, I'm just going in and applying the Crystal Fusion and Liquid Gold onto the piece. I've had a little bit of drippage, but it was okay because all I had to do was wipe it up with my finger and it was good as new, like it never happened. So I'm just applying it as I did before, making sure it's even and level as possible and smooth. And then I'll go ahead, pull this up, and hopefully get the same results as the first time around. After pulling up that second row, it was looking really good. I just had to put one more little star on, and because it was symmetrical all the way around, I just put it upwards instead of horizontally, and it's looking really good, looking like this. So let's show you guys the final reveal.